Caravaggio, known as the Master of Light, wasn't just a painter. He was an artistic visionary who redefined how we experience stories through art. His approach wasn't about mere decoration or portraying biblical stories as distant memories. He used light, shadow, and perspective to draw viewers into the action. He created immersive worlds, where each viewer becomes a witness to the divine and the human, the miraculous and the mundane. Among his masterpieces, Supper at Emmaus stands as one of the most intricate, thought-provoking, and symbol-laden works in art history. This painting is much more than a representation of a famous gospel story. It's an invitation to the viewer to see the world through the eyes of faith, to believe in the transformative power of revelation, and to find meaning in what lies just beyond sight. Join us as we unpack the symbols, the light, and the carefully chosen details that make this painting a masterpiece. And if you enjoy this exploration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dives into the fascinating world of art. The story of the Supper at Emmaus. Caravaggio's Supper at Emmaus takes inspiration from a scene in the Gospel of Luke, one that follows the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. In this passage, two disciples encounter a stranger on the road to Emmaus and engage in a lengthy, profound conversation with him. Unaware of the stranger's identity, they speak with him as they would with any other traveler. Only later, as they sit down to break bread, do they realize that the man before them is the resurrected Christ. Caravaggio captures this moment of shocking recognition with his characteristic intensity. He doesn't merely depict the scene, he stages it as though it were a play, allowing the viewer to take an empty seat at the table, inviting us to join this divine encounter. A hidden world of symbols. Caravaggio's work is filled with subtle, symbolic details, many of which offer deeper meanings for those willing to look closely. The fish, a secret message. Look closely at the wicker basket hanging off the table and the shadow cast upon the tablecloth. Both of these details subtly suggest the shape of a fish, an ancient Christian symbol known as ichthys. In early Christianity, the Greek word for fish, ichthys, served as a secret code among believers. Its letters formed an acronym that translated to Isis Christos Theou Ios Soter, or Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. For early Christians, the fish symbol was a way to identify one another in times of persecution. In Caravaggio's painting, the fish appears only partially visible, mirroring the gradual recognition the disciples experience. Their faith and awareness are only partially illuminated until they finally realize who sits before them. The basket on the brink. In the painting, Caravaggio has placed a wicker basket on the edge of the table, balancing as if it could fall at any moment. This detail isn't just an exercise in realism, it has symbolic weight. The basket is a visual metaphor for the precarious balance of faith, the constant tension between belief and doubt, revelation and mystery. It's as though the basket teeters between the mundane and the miraculous, just as the disciples stand on the verge of understanding. The power of light and shadow. Caravaggio's signature use of chiaroscuro, the stark contrast between light and dark, is on full display in Supper at Emmaus. This isn't merely a stylistic choice, it's a powerful storytelling tool that emphasizes the theme of revelation. Light as divine revelation. Caravaggio bathes the faces of Christ and the disciples in light, creating a triangular arrangement that draws the viewer's eye. The light here doesn't merely illuminate the scene, it signifies the disciples' moment of revelation. When the disciples finally recognize Christ, they are quite literally illuminated, their faces brightened by the divine presence before them. The innkeeper in shadow. In contrast, the innkeeper remains shrouded in darkness, indifferent to the miracle unfolding in his presence. For him, Christ is nothing more than an ordinary guest, and without faith, he cannot see the divine truth. Caravaggio's use of shadow here serves as a reminder that faith is more than sight, it's an act of inner revelation. The innkeeper is a symbolic reminder that divine presence is not always perceptible to the eye, it must be embraced by the soul. The frozen moment. Drama and movement in stillness. Caravaggio has an unmatched ability to capture moments of intense drama, freezing them in time yet imbuing them with a sense of movement and urgency. The painting's composition and lighting make the scene feel as if it's unfolding before our eyes, and in this case, as though it could vanish in an instant. The gestures of the disciples convey their shock and realization. One disciple grips his chair, leaning forward with wide eyes, while the other throws his arms out in disbelief, as though trying to grasp the enormity of the moment. Caravaggio's attention to body language transforms these figures from mere biblical characters into relatable, deeply human individuals, each reacting to the revelation in their own way. The scene feels fleeting, as though it will dissolve the moment we look away. This is intentional. In the Gospel story, Christ vanishes almost immediately after the disciples recognize him. Caravaggio captures this sense of transience, reminding us that moments of divine revelation are as fleeting as they are transformative. An invitation to participate. The Supper at Emmaus isn't just a painting, it's an invitation. Caravaggio doesn't want us to be passive spectators. He wants us to sit at the table, to be part of the story. The empty seat and the precarious basket suggest that this revelation isn't meant solely for the disciples. It's meant for each of us. The painting asks us to grapple with the question of belief. Do we, like the disciples, recognize the divine in the everyday? Or, like the innkeeper, do we remain oblivious to the miracles before us? Caravaggio's work is a visual representation of faith as both an act of perception and an act of choice. A masterpiece that speaks across centuries. Caravaggio's Supper at Emmaus is more than just a brilliant composition or an example of dramatic lighting. It's a profound meditation on faith, revelation, and the human condition. Through symbols, lighting, and composition, Caravaggio transforms this biblical story into a timeless exploration of belief. He captures the tension between the visible and the invisible, the seen and the unseen, reminding us that divine truths are often hidden in plain sight. As you sit at the table with the disciples, caught in this moment of awe and wonder, Caravaggio's message becomes clear. Seeing is not enough, we must choose to believe. Like the fish symbol, like the light, and like the empty seat, faith is a gift, one that requires us to look deeper, to perceive the extraordinary within the ordinary. If you enjoyed this journey through Caravaggio's genius, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the hidden depths of art. Let us know in the comments. When you look at this painting, what do you see?